Well, that should be working. Let's get an updated link here. All right, folks, if you're catching this live, we are sorry about that. No idea. All right, folks, if you're catching this live, we are... Huh. All right, well, there's that. Let's go to Facebook. All right, folks, little technical difficulty there. We are just getting everything back up to speed here. I don't know. Amy, you said that maybe YouTube was giving us trouble because, you know, we were being a little edgy there with the...
No, I don't think it had anything to do with that.
The Adolf Hitler stuff there no. Might have driven some people to distraction. I joke about that because I know people who do get, canceled, as it were, for saying things that are edgy, and that never happens to me. I don't know. How come? All right, so links are posted on Facebook. Facebook Live is running. Link to the YouTube is on the Facebook Live as well. Let me bring up those updated links and make sure that we really are live. And then we will be back in business. All right, Equal to Reality has already found the new thread. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Awesome.
And let's see. All right, just waiting on Facebook to also show me the current feed. Let me get a refresh on that page. And bring it up. All right, sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulty beyond our control. But that was really weird.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly where we left off, but we really need to kind of cut some of our material because we just experienced way too much in Japan.
It's just too much. So
yeah, let's get back. Let's get our camera back on.
All right.
If you could
turn that off. Turn that.
Yeah, I don't think we need a lot of pictures. So you see, it was kind of drizzly in Japan. It was foggy, to pick up from where we were just talking about, but it was absolutely glorious. It was okay. So to kind of precursor what we're going to be talking about, it's being like, all of a sudden you're 8 years old again, and you go to a place that you've never been before, or you're 5 years old and you've never gone. It was the most magical thing because every day was different. Every day had a particular new thing that you've never experienced or tasted or smelled, or it was absolutely amazing. So Robert's posting. Okay, he's showing me, but he's posting pictures here. It was so okay. So there's our friend Lily and John, and then there's Robert, me, and Diana. Lily is amazing because she is multilingual. She can speak Mandarin, English, of course, and Japanese. And she was speaking Japanese almost perfectly. I couldn't believe how well she did, and I was so proud of her, and she was such a good guide for us. We would not have been able to see as much as we did without her. So I owe a great deal of thanks and love and support and all the things that she deserves anyway.
Yes, Lily, and John, but especially Lily, if you are watching this, you are the best.
Yes.
We told you that, but now we're telling the whole world you're the best. But yeah, Japan is amazing. It's as I mentioned on Thursday, it's one of the largest cities in the world, 28 million people in the metro area. 8.9 million people in the city itself. The whole area is the city. So really, those millions all count. And it's a fascinating mix. We saw a bit of that in London, where they preserve old and historic sites. In Japan, you see that with these parks and gardens, but especially the shrines. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because Japanese people aren't that religious. Very little Christianity. And there's an interesting combination of Shintoism and Buddhism, but it's kind of taken as it's not what I would call religious.
I mean, I would call it religious in the sense of it being...
Well, they're wisdom traditions.
Well, there is wisdom. However, there is, a lot of wishing going on, a lot of praying, and we actually talked about that with some locals that we met, some local Ayn Rand fans, and how prayer can be something that would help you kind of understand your thoughts better and help you introspect and help you focus on what's most important to you. The idea, though, of going up to a shrine or a temple, throwing coins or change, and bowing and the clapping for the shrines and all of these special things, to kind of ask the higher power, however that, whatever form that takes, for this particular wish to come true, is it's certainly out of the bounds of
rationality. But did you have the impression they take it that seriously?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. I would say that they don't take it terribly seriously. They don't shake their fists at the sky when their dreams don't come true, I suppose. But it is a very, I wouldn't call it a place where you would go and you would find a lot of, I guess, I'm sure there is intrinsicism in that form to some degree, but maybe less than, say, Catholicism, maybe less than Islam.
Maybe I'm assuming too much common sense, but it just didn't seem like that kind of place where there was a lot of that. It just, well, anyway.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't and can't say, but...
Yeah, and I would say that they kind of cut out the middlemen. So here we have priests and bishops and clergymen and ministers and, there, I don't think that they have anything quite like that. I think that they have monks, perhaps, and maybe some other officials of the shrines or temples, but not in the way that we do. Not representatives of God on earth.
Nobody's preaching nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that in any of the shrines, and we visited quite a few.
Yeah.
There were people who worked there, and they were, showing some degree of reverence for the properties and keeping things nice and asking people to, conduct themselves in a dignified way in certain parts and places where you would want that anyway if you're visiting these places. Mm-hmm. But there's no preaching, there's no proselytizing.
Right.
There's nobody's trying to teach anybody anything.
Yeah.
It's just...
And that was very refreshing. Yeah. So we need to talk. Do you have any pictures of our lovely, glorious afternoon tea that we had on that Tuesday?
Tea. I don't remember what you're talking about.
Okay. When we met our three new friends.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course I have that.
Okay.
Yes. Enric is in the chat and says, perhaps not evangelic. He says, did you hire Lily or is she a friend? Fortunately,
she's a friend.
Fortunately, yes. Lily is somebody Amy knows from college.
Yes, she's been a good friend of mine for over a decade now, and I just love her to bits.
Yeah, the trip was expensive enough as it was. I don't know if we could have afforded to hire Lily. At least, not for 9 days. That would have been an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Enric, you're right. They are tradition-oriented, but I actually asked one of our new friends, Yoichi, what he thought about, how do people view themselves? Or do they view themselves as more of a part of a collective, as a group, and that they need to abide by tradition, and that's a big part of their individual identity? And he basically said, in terms of family, that you can see more intrinsicist thought, with regard to that. But most people that he knows, or most people in Tokyo where he lives, are, they see themselves more as individuals. They see themselves as thinking individualistically or thinking for themselves, which I thought was great, which I thought was wonderful. So,
yes. It kind of mirrors what we saw at the shrines. There is still tradition and a certain amount of that tradition worship. Mm-hmm. But there's also a lot of resistance to it, and even people encouraged to be independent. Now, of course, we did actually purchase our fortunes, And as I recall, you got a medium fortune.
Yeah, I got a lukewarm fortune.
A lukewarm fortune. I got a bad fortune.
Robert got the bad.
And it's funny because they
So
have a rack
silly.
here where if you received a bad fortune, you can fold it up and then tie it in a knot and leave it on this rack.
And they come by and they flog it later. No, I'm kidding.
I think it just gets rained on and it washes the bad luck away.
Yes, all the
But
bad
it is
juju.
funny that it wasn't all good fortunes. No, my
Yeah.
daughter got a good fortune, but that was fun.
Yeah.
So yes, the shrines were great fun. Now, before we got to the tea you were going to mention, everybody who listens to us regularly knows that Amy is a flamenco dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen the videos of Amy's troupe, her group, you know there are several Oriental women in the group, and you think, isn't flamenco Spanish?
Well, they're Japanese. They're not. They're Asian. Yeah,
Yes.
Japanese. And
Isn't that a Spanish thing?
well, real quick history lesson. Back in the 1500s, the Portuguese went to Japan and China. They found that there were these fans like this, but probably bigger. And there we go. And so they adopted that. They brought the fan, this invention, back to Europe, and that's where that originated from. And then, of course, the south of Spain, in Andalusia, it was a big melting pot anyway of different cultures, different religions, different people from all over, and they developed flamenco dance throughout the last probably 300 years. So in Japan, there's actually more flamenco schools than there is in Spain.
Yeah, they love their flamenco
They
in Japan.
love it, and they were so good at it. They were not just proficient, they were expert. Now, I should say this with one caveat. They were technically perfect. I mean, they were so good, so right on everything. And however, it was choreographed, and for those who may know more about flamenco, it's usually they make it up as they go along. They improvise the flamenco as they dance. In Spain, that's usually how it goes. So it's a little bit more loose, a little bit more you're playing off, you're sparring with your partner kind of thing. This was more choreographed, except for at the end when they did a little bit of improvisation. But they were so good. I was so thrilled. And at the very end, I let them all know that I was part of a flamenco troupe in Michigan, USA. Of course, I have to hold up the palm of my hand to say Michigan. Like, not that they would really, I don't know if they understood me when I said that, but I tried my best.
They were quite pleased to find out that you came to see flamenco in Japan,
Yes.
and you were part of a flamenco group
Yes.
in the United States.
Yes. And I got my picture with the one lady who did such a fantastic job dancing. I mean, she really gave it her all. One little story that I need to mention about this is that John, Lily's fiance, is a great guy, very gregarious, very Western, and very and loud, can be, he and I were sitting in the front row right at the stage. And there was a first part of the dance, and then an intermission, then a second part. Well, we decided at intermission that we would kind of encourage these very polite, middle-aged to elderly Japanese women that comprised most of the audience, who were politely clapping in their very, very polite Japanese way, to give them a little bit more permission to whoop it up and show some more enthusiasm towards the dancers, the singers, and the musicians. And so we did. So we whooped it up during the second act, and woo, and going ole, and all of this. And it was great fun, and we heard the people behind us clap just a little harder.
Oh, yeah.
Make exclamations, and it was really fun.
Yes.
Yes, so that was one of the best parts of being in Japan, is to go to Spain while you're in Japan. And they served us, by the way, Spanish food, how do you say it? Paella? Anyway, and the other things too that were a little bit more European kind of in flavor.
Yeah,
So,
there was a lot of interesting food over those 9 days. Not all of it Japanese. I don't know if we want to tell that story.
Oh, I don't know, but there's such a variety of food in Japan. It's not sushi everywhere you go. It's not, I mean, there's all sorts of variety. So I think somebody in the chat on Facebook, Alex equal to reality, asked, "Did you get bored of the food?" I would say no. I mean, I would say that there was some of it that we had a little bit too much of, but it was good food. But it was, it's one of those things that I think I enjoyed more. Robert, I don't think you enjoyed as much.
Yes, I've been described as having tastes in food that are pedestrian, and that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
But yes, the food was very interesting. Not all of it was Japanese. We found places to eat that were very interesting. One of my favorites was the original Pancake House, which was started in Oregon in the United States, but the one in Tokyo, well, I guess there's more than one in Tokyo, there's a couple. Just incredibly good. And if you go to the original Pancake House in Japan, you can get their fluffy pancakes.
Oh, the fluffy pancakes were the best.
Now, if you don't know Japanese pancakes, you might think of a fluffy pancake like a fairly light American. No, this is...
No,
we're talking
these
about
are pancakes that are like about 1.5 inches to maybe even 2 inches thick. And it's not thick, it's just airy. And they were the best. They were truly amazing. Oh my gosh, so...
the pancakes actually happened after our visit to Planet Labs. What was it?
Team Labs Planets or Planet. Anyway, Team Lab Planets.
It's a walk-through experience.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
It's a color experience. It's sort of like a fun house that kind of, makes itself look a little bit more elegant or interesting or artistic.
Imagine a mirrored room, mirrored floor, mirrored ceiling. Now you're barefoot throughout the entire experience. And this room here is hung with
LED lights.
LED lights. And they're hanging down from the ceiling in streams. Anyway, I won't try to describe it all. There's another room you walk into with a whole different kind of lights, except they're shining on water. Yes, our legs are underwater walking through this room.
Yep.
Another room filled with these enormous inflated balls. Mm-hmm. And you're surrounded by balls, and everything is mirrored floor, mirrored ceiling. The colors change. Interesting. And then another room that's a globe, and everything is projected on this globe that surrounds you.
Like a planetarium, but there were these colored flowers that were basically in motion. So as you were walking, you felt like you were getting really dizzy because there was motion going on above you and to your sides.
Yeah, and part of the dizziness is the floor is a mirror, so you feel like you're suspended in, or at least you look, and it looks like you're suspended in space.
Right.
So if you ever get a chance to go to Team Labs Planet's exhibit, if that comes to your town, or if you happen to go to Japan, it's very interesting. Thought I had more pictures of that, but maybe not. Yes, very, very interesting. Well, that took us back to the beginning.
Okay, back to the beginning.
All right, so enough of that.
So I wanted to talk about our glorious afternoon tea on Tuesday, and we met some very special people.
Yes.
We met objectivists and Ayn Rand fans, 3 of them at a particular afternoon tea kind of lunch. And this was at a hotel called Mesme, it's MESM is how it's spelt, and I think it's a Marriott hotel or something. It's very, very high class. You walk in and everybody has sort of like a butler culture mentality, and everyone's bowing, and of course I'm bowing back because as one does, just trying my best as an American who isn't particularly fond of all of this. So we go in and we sit down with these 3 lovely people. There's Chika, Ayumi, and Yoichi. So 2 ladies, Chika and Ayumi, and Yoichi is a gentleman. And just fascinating, absolutely amazing people. I hope we can see them again at some point, because they were so delightful, so welcoming, and they spoke amazingly good English, which is a feat in itself, which is just, that's difficult to do. If anybody understands the differences between Japanese and English, it's like night and day. So different syntax, different way of thinking. Yeah, so not only did we meet Ayumi, a lovely lady, but she is the one who actually translated Atlas Shrugged from English to Japanese. And she gifted us, so as most people know, Atlas Shrugged is in 3 parts. So what she and the publishers did, they decided to put it into 3 books. So on this particular, the first one, there's a chain. I don't know if you can kind of see that there. The second one has an ashtray on it. It's pretty neat. And then the third one actually has the Liberty coin. It is the Lady Liberty, Statue of Liberty, and a coin, and it says, "In the name of the best within us," in English on the coin. So this is sort of, Ayumi said that this represents the dime that she was able to earn in the valley when she was working for John Galt. And it was such a fascinating talk with them. Especially with Ayumi, who was just so sweet and wonderful to us, and she was so forthcoming about her experiences. She's an Ayn Rand fan. She's a translator of Atlas Shrugged, and what we did was, at the very end of our discussion, our get together, was I asked everybody, who is your favorite character in the fiction, in the novels? And so we basically went around the room and we talked about our favorite characters, our favorite scenes, how those characters affected us, what those characters meant to us. And it really brought out, the one thing that I remember Ayumi saying to me was, and it was just so wonderful, she basically said something along the lines of, I don't consider myself to be an objectivist, but I see that the values that these characters have they have affected my life. When we talk about these characters and what they did, and their motivations and their actions, the reasons for why they did things, the way that they relate to each other, that it has impacted my life. And I was just so pleased to hear that. And then we, of course, talked with Yoichi, who is a really wonderful gentleman, super amazing. He has talked with Yaron Brook quite a lot. At some point, we're going to interview him. He does express some interest in that, so that's wonderful. And we were sitting there talking to, Japanese locals about, the primacy of existence and rational egoism and all of these things. That it was such a joy. It was such a joy to be able to find like-minded people in Japan, of all places. It was just, it meant so much. It meant so much to us. And then later that evening, we met a wonderful younger gentleman named Takahiro, and he was very enthusiastic and entrepreneurial, and talked about having read The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. He was an Ayn Rand fan. And so, when we talk about Ayn Rand, oh, here they go again talking about Ayn Rand. It is true. And we've seen it with our own eyes, heard it with our own ears. Halfway around the world, people are being positively affected by Ayn Rand's ideas and her fiction and inspired. And that means a lot. That means so much. Oh my goodness. Here's the sake pouring at the one restaurant that we went to with the Kyoto.
温かいソファー一つと
Yeah, that's the grand.
I'm not sure I've got a photograph of him, but he does show up at the end of this video
there he
clip.
is.
ソースなしってできますか
Great kid, great guy. Just amazing.
Funny how anybody younger than us is a kid.
People my own age are kids to me, I'll just say that. Oh yes, and here is the wonderful Chika, Ayumi, and Yoichi. And we're at the hour mark here, but we have to talk about this.
Okay, so we're on the 16th floor. We got this beautiful view. You know, much of Tokyo is ports, so you've got views of water everywhere. Just 16th floor, luxury bar/lounge here. And they have themes. And what they're celebrating when we are invited up here to meet these good people is Leonardo da Vinci. And the way in which they're celebrating Leonardo da Vinci, bear in mind, we're going up to meet with a bunch of objectivists and Ayn Rand fans. The way they're celebrating Leonardo da Vinci is with a series of dessert courses themed on the Last Supper.
Decadent, sugary, creamy, so sinful dessert dishes.
Yeah, I'll post video on Facebook of the presentation when they actually uncovered these.
They brought these rectangular boxes out, and
it's a jaw dropper, just a complete jaw dropper.
They lifted up the lid from the box, and out pours this fog, like a dry ice fog. And I thought to myself, this is the Last Supper. We knew the theme was the Last Supper, and we were familiar with this particular painting. But they come out, and it's like Jesus as rock star, along with his rock star disciples. And this is a presentation that you would not be able to see anywhere else in the entire world other than Japan. And I so appreciated it. And I so appreciated this new association now that I had with Jesus Christ and his disciples. With these decadent, mouth-watering treats, as you can see, the very center where Jesus is sitting is not just this wonderful crusty bread loaf, but it was filled with this luscious, decadent Asiago cheese.
They couldn't just leave it be plain bread, although that was the theme and that was the idea, was Jesus brought bread to the starving. And
I forgot exactly. Judas had the fish, was it?
No, Judas was, well, you've got the thing there. Let me see that.
Oh, yeah. Judas
the
had, I don't know, it's in Japanese, so I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, I must have looked at the
But
translated version.
if I'm looking at this correctly, how in this photo, how the delicious, decadent pastries.
Yeah, Judas was the chocolate things, right?
Maybe it could be.
It was.
Oh, there he is.
Because
yes,
you know why? It was there were chocolate discs in there separated by a lighter whip. Those were supposed to represent the 30 coins that Judas received in exchange for betraying Jesus to the Romans.
Well, good on Judas for having such a decadent chocolate cake.
You know, the Jesus Asiago bread was pretty good, but I gotta say Judas was more delicious.
Yes.
He was. I'm sorry.
And
that's blasphemous.
And Simon, actually, was it Matthew? I think. I forget exactly. The second to the last guy on the right, that kind of chocolate cone.
Oh, Thaddeus was the tiramisu.
Yes.
The dusted tiramisu cone.
Good for Thaddeus, man.
Yeah, that was
so
good.
Delicious.
The whole thing was an experience. It really was extraordinary.
This is an interpretation of Christianity you will not see anywhere else in the entire universe.
No.
I absolutely loved it.
That's correct. What a hoot.
There's nothing pious about this at all. I have the original little card that they gave us with all the desserts and the disciples on it. So good. I couldn't stop laughing. I really couldn't stop laughing. I spent this last week, every time I think about it, I get this big grin on my face, and I'm like, that is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, and we could go on, and maybe we shouldn't, but somebody in the chat saw the bunny pictures there.
Yes.
There is an island in Japan.
Yes.
And in this island in Japan, Ōkunoshima, it was an island where way back in World War II, they were developing poison gas, and there's actually a vacant factory there with a museum associated with it. But at this point, nobody lives on the island. And somehow, and nobody apparently knows how, domestic rabbits were seeded to the island. They were let loose. You don't see rabbits like these in the wild. If you've got hares or rabbits where you live, they're brown, they're cute, but these are domestic bunnies that are now feral. They live on the island. It's they nicknamed it Rabbit Island. And you can go there and you can see all these rabbits all over the place. Now, we ended up having to have a very, very short trip, which is unfortunate. We didn't spend very long on Rabbit Island, but if you go there at the right time of day, you can get them to crawl all over you. They're just all over the island.
Yeah, we spent some time there around like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and they were napping at this point, right? But it was great. It was something that we really wanted to go to. I really wanted to go to, and even though we just spent a short time there, I could say we went to Rabbit Island.
Yes.
During the Year of the Rabbit in Japan, and that was very meaningful.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yes. Yes, Paul, this is great, isn't it? Lisa says, I'm having bread and goat cheese. If only I had that wonderful feta. Yes. Yes, it's delicious and decadent. Not what's the word? Not self-sacrificing, but aesthetic, not aesthetic, but ascetic. And I'm trying to think of other words to describe pious. But anyway, you know what I mean. Anyway, so yeah, bunnies are here. I'm shaking a little bag. This is the, here, you can actually hear a bag. This is what it sounded like when I shook the bag. And, yeah. Oh, look at that. Me saying hello to the bunnies and worshiping them.
You may wonder why there are some pictures where Amy and our daughter were wearing masks. And you see that a lot with the Japanese. They wear masks a lot. Their trains, for example, are very crowded.
Well, I don't necessarily want to get into that,
But yeah, I'm not going to give the whole story, okay? But there are reasons why there were masks in certain contexts. Don't let that bother you. Oh, bunny. Oof.
Yeah, don't let that bother you. Yeah, yeah, the bunnies there. Okay, now this was, as you're seeing right now on the screen, bunnies are coming out of a forest and coming up to you as if they were tame and asking for this bunny kibble.
Bunnies don't usually do that.
They don't.
Even if you adopt a bunny into your home, it might be weeks or months before they do that.
And cottontail bunnies, the wild bunnies, do not do this. They run away.
But these bunnies, they own the island, and the humans are their slaves.
There's about 1,000 of them, and the humans come and worship them and give them food. And this is the only place on Earth where you can actually experience what you're seeing. It was just, look, somebody actually gave this one some hay and some carrots. Isn't that nice? Yes. Very happy bunny.
These bunnies are in heaven.
Well, I should say this, for bunnies as such, as they were kind of straddling the middle ground between being wild and domestic, I think they had a pretty good life.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen all bunnies, other than the wild bunnies, be pampered at home. But
yes, it would be better if they had happy homes.
Look at these young babies. Oh, they were so sweet.
Yes, too much.
And these bunnies that were circling around me, one was trying to
romance the other one?
Romance the other one. There was a little twitterpation going on there.
Romance you from behind.
So yes, it really is too much, Paul. It was, I mean, and okay, so deep breath, everybody. There is more to this trip. There was 8 days of being there, 2 days of travel, and it was more than I could ever talk about in 40 hours. I mean, it's... You have some notes there, Robert.
No.
No? Okay.
Well, the only thing I've got left in my notes is, yes, if you want to see more on Rabbit Island in Japan, there are links to some YouTube videos you can watch, which you should watch because they are adorable.
Yes.
There's links to the original Pancake House Japan version. If you're using Chrome or a browser like it, it will volunteer to translate it for you. If you go to Japan, you've got to go there. The only other thing in my notes that I didn't cover earlier is totally unrelated to Japan.
Okay.
So are we done with Japan for now?
Well,
Okay.
never. I don't think I'll ever be done with Japan, as a matter of fact. It was so lovely. And I'll tell you just a couple of other things.
Yes.
Cleanliness was everywhere.
Yeah,
Everywhere
there was cleanliness
clean.
was all over the place.
All over the place, all scattered throughout everything. Just blowing in the wind is cleanliness. It was just...
Which was kind of bizarre if you're not used to, for example, not just bidets, but electronic bidets.
Yeah, electronic toilets, basically. The first hotel that we were at, if anybody remembers from the Pee Wee Herman show, there was Cherry, the chair that had eyes and a mouth, and we would talk to you and have conversations with Pee Wee Herman. And so I would always call the bidet Cherry, because when I opened up the door into the little toilet area, because it was own separate room away from the bath, the shower and the sink and everything.
Europeans are used to the idea of a water closet, but in America we don't do that.
It's all together in America. But so you walk in and the toilet lid lifts up like on its own.
You just walk into the commode area and it
like
doesn't
it was
just
about
lift
to
up.
talk to you or something.
It doesn't just live up. Not only does the cut, some of you are used to this and you're like, of course, but I have never seen not just that the lid lifts up, but water starts flowing. Your bowl is doing this pre-rinse. And the seat is hot.
The seat is warm.
Well,
like
it's
a little
really
bit
warm.
too warm.
Too warm.
Too warm.
How warm was it?
Too warm. And so you do your business and everything like that. And of course you have options. You have so many options to clean certain parts and all of this stuff. And not only that, but afterwards you can turn on the dryer. A dryer.
And that's not even everything. There's a noisemaker.
Yes.
You press a button, and depending on where you are, it starts playing like babbling brook sounds.
Like in bird song and river sounds.
I guess like if you have a shy bladder, kind of thing.
Or if you know something's coming that's going to be a little loud, you turn that on and you're all set.
So you don't bother the neighbors. I mean, we saw this in public restrooms. This was not just in the fancy hotels we were in. This was out everywhere. So weird.
Yes, wax rust protection.
I don't want my toilet to do all these things. Certainly not automatically before I asked it to.
It was so funny. It was so funny. But I got used to it, and I actually kind of got a little bit too used to it, because coming back to the States, we went to the movies the other night, and I tell you, we went to the
restrooms were not that clean?
Oh, it was horrible. It's smelly and gross.
Really?
And it was terrible. Well, women's bathrooms, a lot of people think, they're dainty, those women. No, actually, they're kind of Amazonian, really. Yeah. So, no offense to the people from the Amazon. Or
Amazon.com, whatever.
So, but there was more to it. You go out into, we arrive at Narita Airport, and it is quiet. It is like a library. And this is in the terminal. This is where people are shopping, and people are greeting each other, and people are figuring out where they are. It's silent. And I couldn't believe it. It was actually very peaceful, maybe a little eerie for some people, but I felt it was actually quite serene and nice. So I got kind of used to that. Other impressions, walking through Tokyo, there are people like, for instance, window washers who are basically like stuntmen, for lack of a better term. They're I don't think that they have OSHA in Japan. And they're doing all these things and like grappling hooks and crazy things, doing this window washing and like hoisting up ladders with ropes, just, freewheeling things.
We saw an interesting one in particular, and it wasn't a skyscraper. It was like 5 stories, so it was a tall building. Yeah. And there's 2 window washers. They're working from ropes, but without platforms.
Right.
So they look more like mountain climbers
There's
than
no
window
scaffolding.
washers.
There's no...
Very cool.
It was really, really cool to see, and everybody who was working, from the elderly people who decided to spend a few hours of their day sweeping the streets, which is a thing there, by the way. If you're retired, you go and volunteer and you sweep up things in the street. Everybody seemed, or at least they seemed, to enjoy the purpose of work. That work was kind of fun. That's the impression I get from all sorts of different sources. But to see it, there were some older gentlemen who were directing traffic in this hotel area, and they were yelling, but they were so efficient at what they were doing, and you could tell how much fun they were having. It was really lovely. It reminded me of, if anybody's familiar with Richard Scarry, the children's book author and illustrator. He's the author of books like the Please and Thank You book and Busy Town. It was like Tokyo was like stepping into Busy Town, where everybody had a purpose, everybody enjoyed what they were doing, everybody liked to interact with each other. If things happened and mistakes were made, they were fixed with a smile. It was like that, and yes. I really, really enjoyed being in that kind of atmosphere.
Yes. Some funny stuff going on in the chat where Christopher Smith said wax rust protection.
Yes.
You would think the bidet, like a car wash, would have those options. You pay a little extra and get...
It's like the rainbow foam.
Yeah, and get that coating that you need. But it's also funny because Apollo Zeus says, sounds like Harold Lloyd. I had never seen a Harold Lloyd film before. I've seen, clips. We all see little clips of old-time movies. But coincidentally, totally by coincidence, on the flight to Japan, I watched Safety Last, which is a Harold Lloyd film.
Oh,
right. And so Apollo Zeus is right. These window washers could have been right out of that film. It's the famous one of him, hanging by the clock up at the 13th story of the building that he's climbing. I now understand where that scene comes from and how that works. The other film I watched on the way there was Bullet Train, which is a good film to watch if you're going to Japan and you're going to be, riding on the Shinkansen, the bullet train at 200 miles an hour. And I enjoyed that film more than I expected to.
Yeah.
But I talked about that on Thursday. So, good trip.
One
good
other
time.
Thing,
yes.
The bunny shrine. They actually had a rabbit shrine.
Yes.
And it was, okay, so the context here in Japan is that, now it's the year of the rabbit, of course, but this particular shrine people would go to and they would pray for a healthy baby. And so
rabbits,
it's sort of like
course, being related to that.
Yeah, somehow rabbits are somehow associated with human babies. I'm not entirely sure how, but that is what that is. So
well, they breed a lot.
They do.
So they're associated with fertility.
Yes, they're very fertile, those bunnies. And so you had all these little rabbit figurines, like little statues everywhere, which I thought were just adorable. And they had these plaques, and I can show it right now here. So this is an actual rabbit shrine plaque that you can write on the back of, on the front as well. And we actually, this is an extra one that we purchased just so that we could have it, but Robert went ahead and he filled out one, and there's all these, how Robert mentioned those, the bad fortunes you would tie to the rack. These were kind of like little statements or messages or wishes or however. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, there were actually 2 opportunities to do this, so this was the first one.
Oh, yes.
and we sent our best wishes out. But then we went to the bunny shrine here. And,
look at that.
Oof.
Look at how I have one of those bunny figurines there.
Yes.
And
it was the year of the rabbit, too.
Yes.
It is the year of the rabbit.
Yes, here it is. So
we've had several bunnies over the years, but the two that we had for the longest period of time are the two that were our bunnies were Athena and Dolly.
Yes. Yes.
So we sent our good wishes to all of the bunny owners throughout the world.
Yes.
And in memory of Athena and Dolly.
And let me tell you, it wasn't just wishes for babies, for babies on this thing, in these statements, the ones that were in English anyway.
Yeah, people expressed all sorts of things.
They expressed best wishes or in remembrance of their bunnies, of their actual bunnies. And I thought, that was just so amazingly lovely that there are bunny owners out there who have gone to the bunny shrine in Japan in the year of the rabbit and put these little messages up there, and ours is there now too.
Yes.
Isn't that just the sweetest thing in the world?
Yes, it is. That's just what it is.
The sweetest thing in the world. Oh my goodness. So we did the bunny shrine in Bunny Island. We did actually visit it was sort of a bit of a tourist trap, but it was this bunny cafe, they called themselves, but it was basically just kind of a bunny shelter sort of thing, but they were working bunnies because you had to pay them money to go in and spend time with bunnies.
Yes.
And you could feed them, little pellets and things, just a little bit. And they were probably they were cared for more than the bunnies on the island were, of course. And I'm sure that they were loved to the extent that they were, and that's good. But it was one of those things where there were just too many bunnies in the small space, and it was done well to the extent that I think that they could. But of course, being a bunny worshiper and kind of a bunny snob, I felt a little put off.
Yes. Well, it's hard for people to live up to your bunny standards.
I have high bunny standards, very,
Yes.
very high bunny standards.
Yes. Well, I just noticed in the chat on Facebook, Petya says, I enjoyed Toto washlets in my home for many years. Highly recommended. See, there are people who are just used to this. This is just the way things are.
Yeah, that's great.
Toto is the brand name that you see everywhere in Japan. There must be only one plumbing fixtures manufacturer in Japan because everything was Toto branded.
Yes.
And well designed, well engineered. You didn't see much, even in the public restrooms, things were in good condition. So very, very cool.
Oh, wow. So there's more to say about Japan. Again, all I have to say is that it was beautiful everywhere. The architecture, of course. But just the trees, the azalea bushes, they're dark pink flowers and white flowers, just bushes lining the streets, these clean, wonderful streets with little parks kind of, in the nooks and crannies of Tokyo that you can go into. And it's just absolutely delightful. I don't know everything. When I look around me in my mind's eye, remembering back, I didn't quite understand everything. I couldn't, of course, read the hiragana or the kanji or anything like that. I didn't understand some of the statues that I was looking at near the shrines. Shrines could pop up anywhere, and you're not entirely sure what they meant or what they signified. And you couldn't read much. There was not much English to read on signs. But we did use Google Translate, and I was able to memorize some certain things. But before we stop talking about Japan, I have a little surprise. This is a dessert called matcha warabi mochi. So, mochi. So this is the wrapper for it. But what it is I'm not entirely sure. But it was,
Now,
I
this
put
is
it in the
something that
refrigerator.
Lily, our
Yes.
tour guide, gave you.
My good, sweet, dearest friend Lily
Yes.
gave me this to eat. And I think what you do, so I put this on a plate.
It's wobbling like
And it's
Jell-O.
wobbling like Jell-O. And so what you do, I think, and you are going to be here with me to discover this as I do this. So here's a packet of something. It says matcha. And I think what this is are like little matcha crumbs, you could say, or flavoring. So basically you've got this jelly-like substance, and then you kind of coat it in this powder. And I think that's what this is. So let's find out together right now. Live. Oh yeah, it is. It's the powder. So I'm going to sprinkle some powder on here in a fashion that is not particularly graceful. Oh, there's just a little bit more in there, actually. Well, I'll get that later. And I think what you're supposed to do is actually kind of cut it up and try to eat it with chopsticks, but I'm not going to do that. I've got a spoon. So I've got the powder on this kind of jelly-like substance. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a bite with a spoon. So again, it's like this jelly-like substance with this powder all over it. And the powder is a matcha, like matcha tea, flavor. And let's try this here.
Maybe you should have got chopsticks. That's really challenging.
There you go. Would you like to try?
No, but thank you for asking.
It's very refreshing. You know, it's not quite like Jell-O. It's denser than Jell-O, but it has kind of like a I don't know.
Apollo Zeus is asking, is the powder and jelly both sweet?
Mm-hmm. It is sweet. I mean, it's not too sweet. It's not so sweet. And I'm actually realizing that I'm hungry right now.
Oh.
So I'm going to take one more bite. Anything else to add, Robert?
I think we pretty much covered it.
We didn't cover everything.
No, we didn't cover everything, but I don't know that we could cover everything.
We went to the Harry Potter Cafe. And
That's true. I missed
was,
that one.
Robert missed it.
I had other things
He
to
had
do that
other
morning.
things to handle. And but it was delightful. Absolutely delightful.
Yeah, there was a lot of geeking out, and
Oh.
and we brought my daughter, who is very smart,
Big
and,
Harry
and
Potter
consequently was, well, not only Harry Potter. We went to Ghibli Park,
Yes.
and Studio Ghibli's little thing.
I got a no face wobble.
Yes, you do. And besides going to the Studio Ghibli property, we went to the now I forget what it's called, the Pokemon Center.
Yeah, it's the Pokemon Center.
Pokemon Center, which apparently are only in Japan anymore. There was one for a short time in New York and a couple other cities. So if you want to go to Pokemon Center, if you want to go to the paradise, the nirvana, the heaven of Pokemon stuff shopping, that's where you go.
Yep.
And there was a fair amount of other nerding out over the course of the 9 days as well.
It was wonderful.
Yeah,
So
well,
I nerded out over flamenco and bunnies. Diana nerded out over Pokemon. I nerded out over it. We all kind of nerded out over Harry Potter. I did get some things from from Harry Potter itself, but it was just, I tell you, it was
yeah, we haven't
delightful.
even touched on a lot of it. Like,
Go to Japan.
yeah, like there's a building with a second floor office where you can go to this place and pet rabbits.
Yeah, I was just saying the
The
Rabbit
Bunny
Cafe. Yeah,
Rabbit Cafe, yeah.
Yep.
Just all sorts of things. We're not even going to try to touch on all of them, but a bunch of pictures have been uploaded to Facebook. Again, facebook.com/, and we'll post more. And we'll post some of the videos and some of the other stuff as we remember all of this. But thank you. Thank you for sharing this journey with us.
Yes. Arigato gozaimasu.
The other note that I have in my notes, I know some of you are musicians, some of you are fans of the band Yes. there's a tribute that is done every year. It started out as a tribute to Chris Squire, bass player, who passed away now 7, 8, 9 years ago. Yeah, I guess 9 years ago. And probably the best bass player who does videos where he plays Yes songs and Chris Squire songs and plays along with them. A guy named Miguel Falcao.
Yes.
Goes by the name Miguel Bass. Has been, for the last 9 years, doing tributes to Chris Squire where you, musicians out there, or singers, or just readers, can offer a tribute to the late Chris Squire and share that with other Chris Squire fans and Yes fans. And since we lost the drummer Alan White now a year and a half ago, he's now included in the tribute. The original Yes guitarist, Peter, why did his name just escape me? Peter Banks. Not Peter, is it Peter Banks? Peter Banks.
Yes.
We lost him a few years ago, so now it's become a tribute to all three of those late Yes musicians. He calls it Play for Chris. And we're at Play for Chris 9, and I have every year when he's announced doing this thought, I should participate in that. Just, play a little bass guitar, part of a Yes song, and give my message to the fellow Chris Squire fans. And I've never gotten around to it. So this year I'm determined to do Play for Chris 9. And if you have any advice on that, post it in the chat or post it on my Facebook wall or send me an email. The email link is at robertnasir.com to my super secret Yahoo email address. And let me know, what Yes song do you think would be good to post a 30 to 90 second clip of, actually playing or singing or whatever. Share that with me. My Post-it note for the week, because I do actually have a Post-it note for the week. My Post-it note for the week says, Yes, speaking of the band, Yes. But no, this is my answer to just about everything. And this is what I want your answer to be too. So when your wife says, can we go to Japan next year? just say yes. If she asks for a foot rub, the answer is yes. Can we go out to dinner? Yes. Can we go to that New Orleans-themed restaurant? Yes.
Yes.
Whatever it is, just say yes. And fortunately, that will make you more ambitious because you will do things that you're not motivated to do, but you should do more things you're not motivated to do. It's so easy, especially when, we live in America where we're surrounded by luxury to just, sit on the couch and watch television when we could be going out to a movie or going to a restaurant or going dancing or something, anything.
Yes.
So the answer is yes. I don't have any homework for this week.
I do. I want everybody to get into an uncomfortable situation where they're not entirely sure about, but find delight in whatever you're doing as if you were now a child of 8 years old. And so do things out of your comfort zone, learn new things, just be in that place for a little bit at least.
Like eating matcha powder treats?
Yes.
Good. Do it. And if you do it, post it. Post it in the 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir Facebook group, or just put it on your own Facebook, but, hot link to us. Put our name in there so we actually see that post. Let us know what uncomfortable thing you were inspired to do this week by Amy's homework assignment.
Yes.
And that's it. This has been the longest show we've ever done.
No, I don't think it's been the longest.
What's that?
I think we've done longer, but I don't know.
We've never gone an hour and a half.
I think we have.
Have we?
Yeah. But that's okay.
We'll find out.
Thank you so very much for sticking with us this far. I know Enric needed to get going, and some other people had to go, but
I see there's still people in the chat. What is wrong with you people? No, you are the best.
You
are
wonderful.
The best people.
And yeah, so thank you so much for sticking around with us.
Yes.
Of course, if you want to support us, you know where to go, yada yada, like and share,
RobertNasir.com.
blah blah blah. Tell your friends, all that good stuff.
And we will be back next week with a normal show, except for one caveat. It might not be at the usual time. We'll let you know ahead of time. We'll let everybody know whether it's going to be at 6 o'clock Eastern time. We do have a schedule conflict.
Yeah, we're doing a flamenco show out of town.
So, well, that too. That's something else altogether. So there's a chance that we'll do the show. When this has happened before, we did it earlier in the day. I think we started at 2 p.m. the last time that we had this particular schedule conflict. If that happens, we will let you know. But thank you for joining us. You are the best audience in podcasting. Really, better than, Steven Crowder and Joe
Who's
Rogan
that? Who's
and
that?
and that Yaron Brook guy. You are better. Well, some of you are the same people actually, but you are the best audience in podcasting. We do not take that for granted. We do appreciate it. Oh, I see Amy has her fans as well.
I got my face.
We got our fan service going on here.
Here's the bunnies. I don't know if you see that, if it's coming through or not, but there are
Super
bunnies
sweet.
on here.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. We're going to wrap it up. We're done. We wish you an outstanding week. We wish you all the success and happiness and joy and fun and frolicking that you so richly deserve. And as always, and this week with a little extra from Japan where we picked it up, we wish you love.